When you watch Keri Russell on screen, whether it's her emotional breakthrough in Felicity or her intense and powerful performance in The Americans, it feels like she was always destined for greatness, like her path was clear and her success inevitable. But the truth behind her journey is far more meaningful, because it is built on quiet determination, bold decisions, and the courage to evolve even when the world expects you to stay the same. And that is what makes her story so deeply inspiring. Because Keri Russell did not chase attention, she did not demand recognition, she simply focused on growth, on learning, and on becoming better with each step she took. And in a world where people often feel pressure to be loud, to stand out instantly, and to prove themselves quickly, her journey reminds us that there is strength in patience, there is power in consistency, and there is something incredibly valuable about letting your work speak for itself, because long before she became widely recognized, she was navigating the early stages of her career with uncertainty, stepping into opportunities without knowing where they would lead. And this is something that resonates with so many people. Because life rarely offers clear directions, it often presents choices without guarantees. And it is in those moments that your mindset matters the most. Because instead of waiting for the perfect opportunity, she embraced the ones she had. Even when they seemed small, even when they didn't promise immediate success. And that willingness to start, to move forward without certainty, is what set the foundation for everything that came later. And when she stepped into Felicity, it became a defining moment, not just because it brought her recognition, but because it introduced her to the world in a way that felt real, vulnerable, and relatable, and her performance connected with audiences on a deeper level, because it reflected the kind of emotions and experiences that people go through in their own lives, the uncertainty, the growth, the search for identity. And this connection is what made her stand out, not as someone who was trying to impress, but as someone who was simply being authentic. And yet, even with that success, she faced one of the most defining challenges of her career, the pressure to remain in that same image, to continue being the person that the audience had come to expect. And this is where her story takes a powerful turn, because instead of staying in a comfortable and familiar space, she made choices that were unexpected, choices that showed her willingness to take risks, to step away from what was safe, and to explore new directions. And this is something that requires immense courage, because it is easy to stay where you are appreciated, but it takes strength to walk away from comfort in order to grow. And as time went on, she transitioned into roles that challenged her in new ways, eventually leading to her incredible performance in The Americans, a role that demanded intensity, depth, and a completely different kind of presence. And she delivered it with such authenticity that it redefined how people saw her as an actress, proving that she was not limited to one version of success, but capable of evolving into something far greater. And this transformation is one of the most inspiring aspects of her journey, because it shows that you are not defined by your past. You are not limited by the roles you have already played. Whether in your career or in your life, you have the ability to grow, to change, and to become something new, as long as you are willing to take that step. And beyond her professional achievements, there is a sense of balance and groundedness in her life that adds another layer to her story, because she has always maintained a level of privacy, choosing to focus on what truly matters rather than getting lost in the noise of constant attention. And this choice reflects a deeper understanding of success, one that is not just about visibility or recognition, but about fulfillment, about living a life that aligns with your values and your priorities. And this perspective is something that many people struggle to find, especially in a world that constantly pushes the idea that more attention equals more success. But Keri Russell's journey shows that true success is personal. It is defined by how you feel about your life, not by how others perceive it. And this is a powerful reminder that you have the right to create your own definition of success, one that reflects your goals, your values, and your sense of purpose. And as you look at her journey as a whole, it becomes clear that her story is not just about achieving fame. It is about navigating change, embracing growth, and staying true to yourself through every stage of life. because there were moments when she could have taken easier paths, moments when she could have stayed within expectations, but she chose to challenge herself instead, and that choice is what led to her most meaningful achievements. And this is something that applies to everyone, because growth does not happen when you stay comfortable. It happens when you push beyond what feels familiar, when you take risks, and when you trust yourself enough to step into the unknown, even when you are not completely sure of the outcome. And that trust is one of the most important elements of her journey, because it is not always easy to believe in yourself, especially when the path is unclear, when results are not immediate, and when doubt begins to creep in. But her story shows that belief is not about having all the answers. It is about having the courage to keep moving forward despite the questions. And as she continued to build her career, taking on diverse roles in films and television, she demonstrated that consistency and dedication are just as important as talent. Because talent alone is not enough to sustain long-term success, it is the willingness to keep learning, to keep improving, and to keep showing up that makes the difference. And this is a lesson that resonates far beyond the world of acting. Because in any field, in any goal, the ability to remain committed over time is what determines your progress. And as you reflect on everything she has accomplished, it becomes clear that her journey is a testament to the power of patience, the importance of authenticity, and the strength that comes from embracing change. And if there is one message that stands out from her story, it is this: that you do not have to rush your path, you do not have to follow someone else's timeline, and you do not have to stay in a place that no longer challenges you. You have the freedom to grow, to evolve, and to create a life that reflects who you truly are. And as long as you are willing to trust yourself, to take risks, and to keep moving forward, your journey, just like hers, has the potential to become something truly meaningful, something that not only brings you success, but also fulfillment, purpose, and a deep sense of personal achievement that cannot be defined by anything other than your own belief in yourself and your willingness to keep going, no matter what. What makes the journey of Keri Russell even more compelling is the quiet confidence with which she navigated the transition from early recognition to long-term relevance. Because many people experience a breakthrough moment, but very few manage to evolve beyond it. And this is where her story becomes truly powerful. Because after the success of Felicity, she could have easily remained within that identity, continuing to take on similar roles, staying in a space that felt safe and familiar. But instead she chose a different path, one that required patience, reinvention, and a willingness to step away from the spotlight in order to grow. And this decision reflects a level of self-awareness that is rare, because it is not easy to walk away from something that brings recognition, even temporarily. But she understood that growth sometimes requires distance. It requires time to reset, to explore, and to rediscover your direction. And as she moved forward, taking on roles in films and gradually reshaping her career, she was building something deeper than fame. She was building credibility, experience, and a body of work that would eventually lead to one of the most defining phases of her life. And that phase came with The Americans, a role that demanded not only emotional depth but also a level of intensity and discipline that pushed her beyond anything she had done before. And what makes this transformation so inspiring is that it did not happen overnight. It was the result of years of growth, years of learning, and years of staying committed to her craft, even when the spotlight was not at its brightest. And when she stepped into that role, she brought with her everything she had experienced. Every lesson, every challenge, every moment of doubt, and she turned it into a performance that was powerful, layered, and unforgettable, proving that true mastery is not about talent alone, it is about dedication over time. And this is a lesson that applies to every aspect of life, because whether you are building a career, pursuing a passion, or simply trying to become a better version of yourself, the process of growth is often slow, often invisible, and often filled with moments that test your patience. But it is those moments that shape you, that prepare you for opportunities that you cannot yet see. And beyond her professional evolution, there is a sense of groundedness in her journey that adds another level of inspiration, because despite her success, she has maintained a balance that many people struggle to achieve. choosing to focus on her personal life, her family, and her sense of well-being rather than constantly chasing attention or validation, and this choice reflects a deeper understanding of what truly matters.